Welcome back. I'm going to take you through a complete minion build that I've tested on the Season 4 PTR that you can use for both leveling and endgame content. Now in this testing I did temper my gear so that each piece of gear had 5 stats on it, but I've not masterworked my gear yet. I did not have the best aspect levels, and more importantly I've tested this build with absolutely no uniques required, and I was able to clear a Tier 100 Nightmare dungeon. This means it will be perfect for taking you through from level 1 all the way to level 100 without relying on a unique drop. Now this build will become more powerful with some uniques, and I will be making another video on how to upgrade this build at a later date. Now for this build I've built it completely around my minions and shadow damage. In terms of skills, one slot will be taken up by your raised skeleton and another by your golem skill. Then you'll be using corpse tendrils for the buff it applies for applying vulnerable and critical strike chance and damage gained from the grasping veins aspect. In terms of ultimate skill, we are taking Army of the Dead to further boost our minion power, and then I'm taking Iron Maiden to gain the essence generation, healing and increased damage from having enemies cursed, as well as the core skill Blight, which I'm primarily using for the bonus 20% damage it will give both me and my minions when enemies are within Blight. This is also a shadow damage skill, which is what my build is focusing on. Now in terms of Book of the Dead, for the warriors we want to take the skirmishers and take the 1 extra skeleton upgrade. For the mages we're taking shadow mages and the increased damage for each shadow mage you have. Now in terms of golem, I've taken bone golem for the taunting enemies active skill it has, and take the 2nd upgrade to help apply vulnerable as an extra buff. You can also look at using the Iron Golem with its stun and upgrade to draw enemies in, but the main point here is you want one of those so that it can help keep enemies off you. Now in terms of bringing this all together for a gameplay loop, you want to ensure all enemies you are facing are impacted by Iron Maiden for the buffs to damage and healing it's going to provide you. Then with larger groups, send in your Bone Golem with its active skill so it can taunt all the enemies. You can then pull them all together with Corpse Tendrils to make it easy to hit them all with Blight for the extra damage buff. In terms of your ultimate skill, you can activate that when fighting larger groups of elites for the burst damage to help your minions wipe them out. Also be sure to keep using your raised skeleton to raise the skeleton priest so that you get the minions buffed and the buff to you due to having the blood getters aspect as well. Now in terms of the aspects I'm using as part of this build on my gear, I have a Photic aspect, which means my skeleton priest empowers my warriors with shadow damage and gives them a chance to stun. So that all my warriors will now be doing shadow damage when I stun the skeleton priest. Aspect of disobedience for the increased armor. Blood getters aspect, which means the skeleton priest also empowers me now, which should then also transfer back to your minions as well. Aspect of hardened bones, so that me and my minions get increased damage reduction. Aspect of Occult Dominion, which now gives +2 skeleton warriors and mages on the 1 aspect. Unyielding Commander's aspect, so that your minions deal extra damage and take less damage when using your ultimate skill. Grasping Veins for the increased critical strike chance and damage. Frenzied Dead for the minion attack speed, which you can now get a lot better with the minions inheriting 100% of your stats. Aspect of the Damned, which will increase shadow damage dealt to cursed enemies, which pairs great with using Iron Maiden for the curse, and then both my warriors and mages dealing shadow damage. Finally, Aspect of Reanimation for the damage buff to your minions as well. So this is a great entry level minion build that will be easy for people to use. If you have another minion build or suggestions for this build, make sure to leave a comment below. If you're looking for the full details of this build, I have linked my build down in the comment section below, so feel free to go there to get the details for the Paragon board I've also used for this build. I will be making more guides on other minion build variations going into Season 4, so if you did find this guide helpful, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe, and look out for future videos.